Dust hangs in the basin like flour shaken from a tired hand. A dry wind saws the rim of the valley, and 3 horses hammer a hard line through the shallow wash. Rafe Kincaid rides point, beard like wire, ash-gray eyes narrowed under a sweat-dark brim. Behind his saddle, wrists bound with thorny cord, rides Mara Quinn. Her dress is coarse and heavy with grit, her hair salted with sand. She does not cry. She keeps her spine straight and her gaze pinned to the jagged mesas drinking the last of the light. Bo Crowley rides left, liquor on his breath and a chipped tooth flashing when he snarls. Lyle Finch rides right, young enough to look scared when he thinks no one can see him. Far overhead, vultures tilt on the copper sky, commas of shadow drifting west. "Head down," Rafe growls. "I can hold my own," Mara says without looking at him. Bo glances back. "We picked up a tail." "Don't stop," Rafe snaps. Cross Crowsfoot and hole up at the Mission. High on the north ridge, a black horse stands like a cutout of night. Jonah Vale sits easy in the saddle and raises a scratched brass spyglass. Dust plume. 3 men. 1 woman who does not fold. Their line points for Hollow Wash. The light drops out of the country as if somebody pinched the wick. The wind shifts. Heat drains from the stones. Jonah lowers the glass. A decision lands without a word. He taps his heel. Ash flicks an ear. They leave the main trail, crossing the slope on an old game path where yucca leaves rake denim and the ground smells of sage. Jonah does not chase the tail. He goes in front of it. Shade to shade. Grade to grade. He threads the seam only a patient rider can see. Hollow Wash opens like a dark mouth, pebbled and slick with powder. Hoofbeats multiply between the rock walls. Rafe hauls Mara tight and hides fear under barked orders. Bo checks the rear and sees the second dust line still there, thin but clinging like wet ink. Lyle whispers, "Do we stop?" "Stopping gets you killed," Rafe says. Through the rocks. Into San Isidro. On a blind curve, Jonah ties Ash to a mesquite and pulls a folded sheet of oilcloth from his saddlebag. 2 short stakes. A cord. No fancy trap, just a slick tongue to steal 3 beats. He lays the canvas where the trail pinches, sprinkles a delicate skin of dust over it, stakes the corners, and crouches in the yucca shade with his palm on the earth, counting the rhythm in his fingers. Wait. Heat. Panic. The first hoof hits the cloth and skates. The horse folds. Bo flies from the saddle and slams his back on stone, breath knocked loose. Lyle rips his pistol free. The shot scorches Jonah's sleeve and kisses his skin. Jonah fires low. 1 clean pop. Lyle's leg gives. He drops like a rotten fence post. Rafe flattens, clamps Mara as a shield, and spurs through the pinch into dark. Jonah plants his boot on Bo's wrist, kicks the pistol into the brush, and sets his Colt on Bo's brow. "Stay down." Bo swallows hard. "Who the hell are you?" "Passing through," Jonah says. He winds a calm loop around Bo and a yucca trunk, the kind a steady man can work free at dawn. Then he swings onto Ash. Night falls like a blown-out lamp. Cold iron rides the air. Early stars punch through the purple. The Mission at San Isidro rises like a white skeleton, arch broken, bell tower unstitched, a greened bronze bell hanging crooked from a worm-bird frame. Rafe forces Mara through the arch and kicks a lantern to life on the cracked altar. Yellow light crawls. Shadows climb. "Thick walls," Rafe says. "He won't try it here." The bell still rings. Mara answers, eyes on the rope. Outside, Jonah slides along the adobe. Kerosene. Damp mortar. Fear like hot leather. His fingers find the bell rope. Coarse, hard, whole. He clips a thin line to it, threads the line through a split timber, and tests a small pull. The bell hums like a trapped bee. He tosses a dented lantern shell through a narrow window. It tinkles to a halt. Rafe fires. Flash. Bitter pepper smoke. "Come on," he barks at the dark. "Show yourself." Mara doesn't flinch. She counts the echo. 1, 2, 3. Jonah jerks the line. The bell barks a sharp, odd note, needle true, if not loud. "There!" Rafe pivots. "Now," Jonah tells himself, slipping through the doorway with the dark. The first shot skates the floor. The second bites Rafe's thigh. He drops a knee and rips a knife free. He lunges. Jonah slides off his sore shoulder, locks the knife wrist, and twists. Bone clicks. Steel clatters. The men grapple in stink and dust and wet metal smell, their shadows threshing across plaster like torn beasts. Jonah rides the leverage and pins the nape. Enough. The bell rope bites Rafe's wrists. Rage runs out of him by degrees. Jonah thumbs rounds out of Rafe's revolver and lets them ping across the tiles. Mara steps from behind the column with a thin white scratch on her brow and iron still in her eyes. "What's your name?" she asks. "Jonah." "I'm Mara." "Let's go." They step into the square, and the north wind threads the arch. Ash shakes his mane. Rafe's horse waits with the blank patience of good stock. Jonah offers the reins. Mara's fingers prickle as blood returns. She mounts. They turn their backs on the bell. No one rings it again. The slope unwinds like a black ribbon toward Reed's Crossing, where a green lantern swings at the post office and beats a soft pulse. They ride for the light. A wooden bridge spans a thin creek. Boards complain under iron shoes. Two shapes block the middle. Bo, puffy-faced and bitter, and Evan Pike, narrow-eyed and paid by trouble. "The town wants the girl," Evan says. "I want my share." Mara keeps her chin up and says nothing. Jonah steps to the center, hands empty. "Don't dirty the night." Bo jerks the trigger. The shot chews the railing and throws splinters. Evan draws quick. Muzzle flare rips the dark. Jonah turns at the waist, claps Evan's wrist, and shoves the barrel offline. The blast tears air. Mara touches heel to girth. The old horse rises and stamps Bo square. He tumbles into roots and hacks like a broken forge. Evan snatches a knife. Jonah boots it away, rolls his arm, threads a rope through a rusted spike, and cinches tight. "Undo it in the morning," Jonah says. "If your hands can hold." Across the bridge the air warms with stew and wood smoke. A dog barks. A spoon knocks a pot. Agnes Reed throws the post office door open. "Mara." "I'm here," Mara says, and falls into flannel and fuss and grateful hands and mad curses for Rafe. Jonah stops at the threshold, his silhouette long on the boards. "You're not coming in?" Mara calls from the light. "You're safe," he says. "And you?" "I've got another road." "Eat hot," she says. "I'll try," he answers, and tips his hat. Ash steps off the boards. 3 hollow clops. The dark takes them. Dawn brings the deputy from Cotton Bend. Rafe rides out in irons, jaw gray, eyes flat. Law, the deputy says when a bystander yells for rope. Thin as paper, but it's something. Evan works the forge 2 days and says little. Bo vanishes between errands and shame. Mara takes the desk at the post. Steel nib, purple ink, rubber stamp. She writes names, sorts envelopes, passes a sack of barley to a trembling widow. At dusk, she rubs the old horse's brow. Brass, she whispers. For the bell. The horse breathes a warm white cloud and lowers his head. News of the black horse rider runs across stoops, bars, and church steps. Children make pistols from fingers and play at getting tied with twine, then wriggling free for the simple shock of breath. Grown folks tell the story with less blood and more wind. The core holds. Someone pulled the right rope at the right moment, and the night got smaller. Jonah leaves Reed's Crossing with the weather and angles for Mesa Azul. Coyotes worry calves there. Beneath a blue boulder he rewraps his shoulder, drinks knife-cold water, and chews salt beef tough as a promise. He dozes against the saddle and wakes to barking. Coyotes slick along the fence like rain shadows. 2 tight shots. A strangled yelp. Silence. A door swings and a rancher says, "Eat." Beans and Johnny cake, Jonah says. That's the menu. The rancher's wife presses a clean cloth into his hand. For the road. Thank you, Jonah says, and rides before the rooster speaks. Another night, an abandoned brickyard and a long scream stretched thin. 3 men pin a boy between kilns. Ash changes cadence to a flat run on hard ground. Jonah does not announce himself. He ends the math and breathes afterward. 2 shots. 1 not. The boy shakes and whispers thanks. Name? He asks. Home, Jonah says, and points him that way. In Jonah's mouth, the word sounds like a small stove in winter. Back in town, Agnes retells the Bell night with a pinch of salt and a lot less blood. Mara stamps steady. The children crowd the stoop. Will the black duster rider come back? A girl asks. Maybe the wind will answer, Mara says, smiling thin. She sets a returned envelope on the counter. Dirty. Corner torn. Across the face 2 blunt words run. Keep going. She looks for a long time, folds the envelope, and tucks it in a drawer. Later she opens it again and adds 2 words in purple ink. I will. She turns down the lamp. The room goes milk-soft dark. Spring leans in anyway. Calves bawl. Wagons squeal in muddy ruts. On a plain north of Mesa Azul, Jonah rides a fence line and taps posts with his boot. A ranch kid on a paint pony tries to match his pace. You fix everything? The kid asks. Just what breaks in front of me, Jonah says. You scared of the dark? Sometimes, Jonah says. I go anyway. That's brave. That's practice. At Cotton Bend, the deputy signs a ledger and yawns. Rafe stares through bars and refuses a book. Want a preacher? The deputy asks. Rafe shakes his head. Want a mirror? Rafe looks away. No bells. Suit yourself, the deputy says. A freight wagon breaks an axle near Reed's Crossing. Jonah is there with rawhide and a fence jack. Need a hand? He asks. Take 2, the driver says with a grin. They lift the bed and slot a spare spoke. That'll hold, Jonah says. You want pay? A plate and a place for my horse to drink. You got both, the driver says, offering his hand. Jonah takes it once and lets go. He rides at dusk. The basin rolls out like folded blue silk. Lamps prick on in town. He does not turn to look. He does not need to see the light to know it is there. He sits later on a clay slope and watches small fires hesitate across the valley. His shoulder is a yellowed bruise, and the pain hums like a string tied to a nail. Ash stands near and breathes ghosts. A hawk wheels, its shadow sweeping the ground like a blade that never quite touches. Jonah thinks of the bell, not the sound, but the moment the rope moved and shifted the night. Small things make large turns. He knows that truth. He saddles it and rides. East Fork in the morning, he says. Then the flats. Next sun, he stacks stones at a creek cut and leaves the banks a little stronger. He swings up while the mesas get their edges lit. The wind shifts. "Let's go," he says to Ash, and the trail opens, simple, narrow, sure, under stars.